Welcome on into Cardinals Central 365. We're powered by Gray Bar and presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. I'm Luke Slabaugh, along with the man, myth, and legend, Matthew Rocchio. Matthew, besides baseball yesterday, put that in the rear view. How was your 4th of July?
It was fantastic, other than the game, and in fact, I was taking part in a little early festivities, some early lunching barbecue, and so I actually missed a couple of the home runs. I heard them in the background, but I was not watching them, and that also meant I had to go back and rewatch those, which is never an enjoyable thing. Just some nice fat balls right down the middle. Why not let Michael Busch have a day? It's apparently July 4th is the day for 3 home run games for Chicago Cubs across baseball history in the last 100 years or so. So, why not? Let's have a little fun. Yay, America.
That is an insane point you made, by the way. I saw that tweet as well
Yes,
from Jesse Rogers from
unbelievable.
ESPN. 3 home run games against the Cardinals by Cubs. Moises Alou back in '04, and Hank Lieber, a name left to yesteryear in 1939, back when the Cubs were winning pennants and actually winning games and stuff.
We all
Incredible
remember Hank
that
Lieber. Let's be honest, Luke. We all remember the days when Hank Lieber was putting it down. Let's be honest. All right. He was a great, and frankly, we don't talk about him enough.
we're writing Hank Lieber fan fiction on Card Central 365. 121st pitch today as the Cardinals look to pull even in this series with the Chicago Cubs and snap this 4-game losing streak. Obviously, the story of yesterday is serving up fireworks. 8 home runs, the most given up in team history. Yes, we are going back to 1882, and 6 taters mashed off of Mikolas, the right-hander. Um, his contract coming up the books very soon, and it just seems like things are winding down here. Miles, great clubhouse guy, had some great years with the Cardinals, but the Cubs have had his number for years now.
Yeah, and it's multiple games where it's too hit. The pitchers are too hittable. It's the bottom line. It's he can't watch Matthew Liberatore tonight or Michael McGreevy when he eventually takes over that spot in the rotation in the next week, hopefully, and watch how. And these guys don't have necessarily elite strikeout stuff, but both of them locate the ball perfectly, and they have a lot of movement in their breaking or off-speed pitches. And right now, that movement just doesn't exist right now. And his not by the numbers, but over the last couple of games, while he's getting shellacked, the pitch that he seems to be getting the most like swing and miss on is that 70-mile-per-hour curveball that just like loops in and drops in on everybody. And it's not 1976. We're not. This isn't going to work. And so, like you said, a lot of respect, put in yeoman work. His pitching through May was extremely crucial through getting through a point where they were like, we're not comfortable giving Michael McGreevy the spot yet, but they've been able to get him spot starts now for multiple reasons. And I think after what happened, it's probably time to pull the trigger, because you cannot keep going through the rest of the season with 2/5 of your rotation just so liable to blow up without any potential of what they could be. And when you talk about potential, Miles Mikolas is an expiring contract that no one's going to trade for. So he's the next one to move, because if you could only make one replacement, you leave Eric Fetty in, because by the off chance that he has 3 good starts in July, you might be able to get something for him on the trade block, or you have a stable 5th starter to get you through to the playoffs when you usually lop off that 5th guy and you go with 4 anyway. So it seems like a pretty natural, rational move of what comes next.
Yeah, great clubhouse guy. And I think that this series is very informative of how the Cardinals should approach the trade deadline. There was a column from Derek Gold the other day before the game, talking with John Mozeliak, that he believes that the DeWitts and ownership will put resources behind the trade deadline if they think that the Cards are in a position to compete. More than likely, I think that it's, they will secure a wild card spot this year, perhaps the last one, and then make a splash free agent signing for the rotation, perhaps looking to 2026 and beyond. With all those contracts coming off the books, Matz, Maton, Mikolas, Helsley, and Fetty, it seems like the Cardinals would be best served to go in on a big bopper, like a Ryan O'Hearn, for example. I'm just spitting out a name. Maybe find a forever home for Nolan Arenado, and then address the rotation moving forward. So you are taking over the division in years to come. I think this game yesterday was one of the strikes and the death knell for that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can rationalize making that move. And listen, that's the only move for a bat. I know a lot of people have been talking about, a bat, a move for a lineup move. Unless you find a way to outsize some power production, there's no point in taking away at bats from all these potential players. And especially when you see what Nolan Gorman and those guys are doing now, I think there's also a question inside the organization, to Derek Gould's point of like when that pinch point comes and they have to make that decision. I think they're also there with Jordan Walker, and I honestly have no clue what's going on with that one. And I think that also probably informs how much they want to make one decision or the other. And I think they're kind of, I don't know, I think they're kind of stuck in no man's land in a couple of these spots, which is, it's better than being 7 games under 500 or right at 500. This season has been better than I expected, but they are kind of in a weird position, and they're going to have to make some decisions. And at this point, I'm not necessarily going to be critical of the actual decisions they make. I'm going to be critical of when they make those decisions, because if they hold back too long and lose the window, then that's something to be critical, because I think it's a coin flip in a lot of ways, but the timing is something you can control. And that should be something we focus on with the Cardinals. And I go back to what I was just talking about with the pitching changes.
Glimmer of hope yesterday. I'm not much of an optimist, but they did break their 52 National League innings scoreless streak. Brendan Donovan going yard off of right-hander Colin Ray. Fastball out over the plate made it 7-1, but that game was well out of reach already. Then a couple of Mickey Mouse runs against John Birdie there in the top of the ninth to make it an 11-3 final score. Perhaps they can get the ball rolling against this bullpen day that the Cubs have. Left-hander Jameson Taillon now on the injured list. So the Cubs are a little bit shorthanded in their rotation as well. But wrapping things up from yesterday's game in particular, 6 home runs given up by Miles Mikolas. And that is a very rare feat. I remember when R.A. Dickey did it with the Texas Rangers, but he doesn't have a UCL in his throwing hand. This was just, I see a lot of comments right now that, meatballs, the fastball and the slider, missing in particular. And I wondered for a second if he might have been tipping his pitches, just the way that, like Carson Kelly, for example, followed through on that home run. It seemed like they keyed on it really easily, but who's to say? And it's back to the drawing board for the Cardinals as we wrap up yesterday's 11-3 loss.
They didn't have any problem finding John King's pitching either, as the Cubs and the Cardinals both set records in opposite ways. The Cubs with a team record 8 home runs, the Cardinals with a team record 8 home runs allowed. Yeah, just an just completely tragic game. Unfortunate that it was on July 4th. Maybe fortunate that it wasn't on the regular broadcast, which we'll return to for this afternoon's broadcast. So let's throw that one out in the trash. Let's see if the offense, which is the exact same group as yesterday, just in slightly different positioning, can do anything different. And with that said, we can transfer to this afternoon's baseball game, and let's do that with the starting lineup and our beautiful graphics that we always put out on STL Sports Central across the socials. And we can go ahead and run this one down for you, Luke.
What a great team at STL Sports Central. And yes, all 12 Apple TV subscribers were disappointed yesterday. Ease the pain with hot dogs. Brendan Donovan leading off, playing second base. Mason Wynn at shortstop. Really, like that Apple TV broadcast with like the NASCAR headphones. Are they like, is Apple trying to like plug those big headphones? Like,
make sure to tune into City Postgame after the City game on Apple TV after tonight.
I forgot you're the soccer guy as well. Okay, so all 13 Apple TV Plus subscribers were disappointed. Wilson Contreras playing first base, hitting third. Alec Burleson doing the cleanup duty, playing right. Nolan Arenado at third base and hitting fifth. Lars Nootbaar batting sixth and playing left. Nolan Gorman has the DH duties. Pedro Pajes catching. And batting ninth, playing center field, Victor Scott, the second left-hander, Matthew Liberatore, prized acquisition in the Randy Arozarena trade. Left-hander, southpaw, having a great year, good ground ball rate, carved up the Cubs back in the Busch Stadium series. Very encouraging streak from Libby. Rubber arm, great guy, high character, just 25 years old, certainly a mainstay in this rotation moving forward.
And on the other side, they'll be going up against the lefty, like you said, bullpen start thanks to Jameson Taillon's injury. Drew Pomeranz having a short but solid season so far for them. The lefty will be getting the, I guess we'll call it an open, not necessarily the start. No Cubs lineup just yet. If it comes in before the end of the show, we'll make sure to get it. But for some reason, the home team slacking a little bit right now.
Would be time to say that this show and STL Sports Central is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use the code STL Sports. That's all one word, STL Sports. That's code STL SPORTS for new customers to play $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
I saw a couple of comments on yesterday's post-game stream with Stefan and Joe.
I have to imagine that was fascinating. Can I just, you just give me a quick little sense of the oeuvre of the post-game yesterday? Because I was doing family stuff. I could not tune in after that abomination of a game. But how was that? What did that look like in the chat section?
Well, Joe has taken umbrage when people in the post-game show refer to something as the worst loss of the season, because he goes back to that 13-9 game in Boston in April where they gave up the lead late, and that was kind of that was the Cardinals that maybe the national media expected. Losing a game late like that, but yesterday was embarrassing for Cardinal Nation and for this team in particular. For Ollie Marmol, I mean, Ollie doesn't deserve this, but it's basically, there were a lot of comments that said that someone needs to shake up this clubhouse and someone needs to go crazy. But reportedly, that's what Miles Mikolas did after the sweep in Pittsburgh, after they lost 3 games and didn't score a run. And that backfired in the most telling way yesterday.
That's not good. Yeah, that's about the last thing I wanted to hear about how this team was trying to fire themselves up. Somebody else has got to step up. That's a bad look. Oof, that's rough.
Right. So it's a bullpen day for the Chicago Cubs. Left-hander Drew Pomeranz is the opener. He can give you some length. They also called up lefty Jordan Wicks, former Kansas State standout. Really interesting constructed bullpen for the Cubs, and they didn't use it yesterday. Also, credit where credit is due. I'm not taking away any positives from Miles Mikolas' start. However, to be able to go 6 innings and take one on the chin at least somewhat preserves the bullpen for the Cardinals. So if they can even up the series today, they've got a relatively rested bullpen for the Sunday finale. But some interesting acquisitions. Chris Flexen got rocked last season with the White Sox. Now he's pitching to a .5 ERA. Daniel Palencia has taken over closer duties, and he's hitting 102.
It's like 73 innings. Didn't they they said some kind of, I know it was a team record. I think they said an NL record. It was like 73 scoreless innings for the bullpen from like middle May through early June. It was a crazy run. And that's why, I'm not feeling very positive about this team right now or the lineup right now. But if there's any team who I didn't want to face in a bullpen start, it's the Chicago Cubs. Dear Lord, apparently these guys can fling it.
Yeah, and Pomeranz has pitched about 20 innings. He didn't start the season with the team. He's 2-1 though, with an ERA of 0. The only run that he has given up was an extra inning ghost runner, automatic runner there on second base. I believe that was also to Pittsburgh. So he has been as lights out as they come. But again, we're looking at maybe 2 to 3 innings today from Pomeranz, and then a patchwork of relievers for the Chicago Cubs there at Wrigley Field. And left-handers occasionally have given the Cubs trouble, and Liberatore for the Cardinals has been outstanding. 3 wins in a row, exiting June, and pitched to the tune of 7 innings, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 6 hits. Just 85 pitches against the Cubs on June 23rd. Secret today is probably what the secret was for yesterday, the formula: keep the ball on the ground. Take that 42% ground ball rate and have the Cubs beat you. He's up there among the top 30, 40 in the league, and course, we know Andre Palante knows how to keep the ball on the ground. So that's the formula. And if you can stick it to Michael Busch, get some revenge for yesterday, I think that's what the doctor ordered and more.
That's my thing with Matthew Liberatore. I was referring to it earlier. He doesn't get guys to necessarily swing. His K rate and his whiff rate is down, but his is one of the lowest in baseball percentile wise. But his chase rate is one of the highest, and his walk rate is one of the lowest, which tells you he's setting these guys up. And he's getting them to chase these things outside the strike zone, and they're not getting rung up for balls very often because that's how he's keeping the walk rate low. That's where he gets his strikes, which is in non-dangerous spots, which is the difference between him and other starting pitchers right now in the rotation. And that's exactly what you want to see. To your point, if there's anybody who we can be confident is going to, maybe not, Andre Palante is a ground ball wizard, so I don't want to take anything away from him, to your point. But that's why Matthew Liberatore has been so damn good this year while not having the huge velocity or the huge strikeout numbers that you would expect from somebody who's putting up some of the numbers he has this season. He's been fantastic, and hopefully he can keep down a Cubs lineup that looks, shocker here, almost exactly like the one that just put up 8 home runs, because why would you change it at all? Ian Happ is going to lead off, obviously, playing left field for the Cubs. Kyle Tucker batting second in right. Seihei Suzuki is their DH batting third. PCA Pete Crow Armstrong is batting fourth, playing center field. Dansby Swanson batting fifth with shortstop. Carson Kelly, the former Cardinal, is behind the plate batting sixth. Michael Busch, who should have been a Cardinal with that last name, batting seventh, playing first base. Nico Horner at second base batting eighth, and Matt Shaw at third base. The hot corner batting ninth. You'll notice there the only change for the Cubs is just a little flip around with Kelly and Busch, who were 6-7 yesterday and now are 7-6. So a little flip around here with Busch and Kelly. That's the only change in the Cubs lineup, which again makes sense to me.
I know some Cubs fans had taken umbrage with Craig Counsell, their manager, benching Busch when a left-hander took the mound, usually giving Justin Turner a start there at first base or moving things around. Busch is a fascinating case. I actually came across him when he was with the Dodgers organization. I was in Tulsa when he played in Double-A, and his bat, they were playing him at second and third, and his bat profiled so much better as a middle infielder, and now has found a home there at first. Also, this PCA guy, bit of a hot dog, bit of a hot shot. But if you can back it up, there's kind of that there's that grid between being a jerk and the talent and production you have. So as long as you have the best WAR in the National League and you have a claim to the MVP front runner, I guess you can do that. Just remember how many outs there are.
All right, I'm throwing up the plot graph of the last 25 years. Who's in the sweet spot on the plot graph that's coming to your mind when you think of the guys who hit that? I'm a jerk, but you love me because of what I do on the field, and I'm that good. Who hits that? Who hits above the Mendoza line on that plot graph for you?
He would hate me if he heard this, but I did some work in the clubhouse back in 19, and I believe that was the 30 home run, or maybe it was the year after the 30 home run season from Jed Jerko. That guy was hilarious. He gave MLB workers an absolute ride of a time, him and Mikolas, and I believe Carpenter was on that team in 19, Waka, Fowler. Interesting times, for sure. I have a lot of lore from that time.
All right, fair enough. I like those takes.
I don't know what Jed Jerko's up to.
You know what? Hopefully there's some 14-year-old at a high school who's being told about his 420-foot home runs and that his swing is just complete trash compared to his. I'm sure there's something along those lines that's happening. That's usually a good swing of the bat for these guys. Just go to high school and teach these kids who are just talking about launch angle. Like, no, if you just swing hard and good, you can crush it like I did. You puny, like I'm sure Jed Jerko's having fun.
Yeah, but that is an interesting grid, kind of the FAFO. How good can you be?
You could patent this. Like you could, if you came out with an article on SEL Sports Central. I'm thinking very Ringer like, where we call it like the FAFO like degrees or meter or something like that, and you go through and talk about the greatest guys in the FAFO like pantheon. This has potential legs here, and that's saying a lot, as we're talking on a Cards game, because pitching hitting, not a lot of legs right now at the Cardinals. But this right here, this has legs.
All right. Well, the Cubs are going to FAFO as the Cardinals and Cubs square off at 1:20 on FanDuel Sports Network Midwest. Shout out to the mothership. And we'll be back here with Postgame. Really appreciate you all tuning in. Final thoughts, Matthew Rocchio, as we put the holiday in the rear view and try to get this July 5th game cooking.
Usually when you're in a 4-game losing streak, you want to change things around. You want to shake things up. Just unfortunate right now that the injuries and the other situations means that the Cardinals just can't. They put out the exact same lineup with a couple of lefty-right flips around for that, whatever kind of machinations you want. I think it's all too much, but still, exact same lineup. And that's really the bummer because you can't get any shakeout in the offense. And I know yesterday the big thing was the pitching, but over this bad stretch and over that scoreless stretch in the NL, the pitching was fine for the most part. And obviously it wasn't great when it was Mikolas and Fetty, but other than that, pitching was great. And the offense has now been a problem for a couple weeks. And it's unfortunate you can't get any other bodies in there to shake things up. You can't even try to manipulate lefty-righty at this point. It's just these are the best 9 guys we got offensively and defensively. We'll talk to you in a week if things change. And that's kind of an unfortunate situation, but it's what the Cardinals have. And this is the question. Good teams or good, mediocre, average teams continue to lose games at this point. If you are a team that is legitimately a 90, 88 win team, borderline great, above average, this is when you can snap out of a losing streak. And so to your point, as you opened up this entire pregame show, this is a very crucial game for them to get back on track. And if they lose this one and this series is already an L, things could get ugly pre-trade deadline, which, again, it'll help them make decisions, but it'll piss off everybody in the chat, and that's completely fair.
And our sympathy is with the people in the chat. As always, this is Cardinal Central 365, powered by Gray Bar, presented by DraftKings. Cardinals can get a game on the Cubs, make it 5.5 behind them for the NL Central Division lead. He's Matthew Rocchio. He is the GOAT. Respect him. I'm Luke Slabaugh, and I'm just a guy. Thank you for tuning in to Cardinal Central 365, and have yourselves a wonderful day.